Looking over the coverage of videos I've provided over the past few months, I've noticed that there hasn't really been much development with the Model 3, and that got me thinking about the future. What exactly are we waiting for with the Model 3? What changes are coming to it? What updates could come in time? And honestly, the more I debated about this, I realized that the Model 3's future might be pretty stagnant. It's not because Tesla is stagnant, quite the opposite actually. They've got so much going on with Giga Texas and Giga Berlin and ramping the 4680s. Now, obviously, trying to get the Tesla Semi out to customers by the end of this year, and there's so much going on at Tesla that the Model 3, I feel like, has almost had its heyday, and I would love to say that, you know, it'll change a lot once the Model 3 starts getting more casting press technology learned from the Model Y and the structural battery pack with the 4680s. You can imagine insane range, improved weight, and lower prices because there's less parts and complexities with the Model 3, but the truth is, the Model 3 is not anywhere close to the list of vehicles that Giga Texas is going to be working on for the foreseeable future, and I have to think that Giga Berlin is probably going to be in a similar state, because Tesla has already admitted that after ramping the Model Y for Berlin, they want to move into a smaller European-style hatchback that will likely be using single-piece castings for the front and rear along with the structural battery pack. Just imagine a Model Y, but smaller and probably cheaper even than the Model 3. So I don't even think that vehicle that Berlin produces next will be considered the Model 3. That will of course still be the Fremont made vehicle, and Giga Texas is going to be super duper busy with ramping Model Y, and then after that Cybertruck orders, they're already through the roof and they're not going to be able to keep up with demand for that vehicle for probably several years. And on top of that, Elon has also referenced that they eventually want the Tesla Semi to be built at Giga Texas. So already tons of high volume, high demand vehicles that are going to require tons of batteries, and I don't really see where the Model 3 is going to fit on that list, which is a shame because I think it's a very beautiful vehicle and fairly practical and definitely not as popular as the Model Y segment, but there's lots of room for engineering improvement on the manufacturing side with this vehicle. It's always been directly referenced next to the Model Y as, this is how you don't make a vehicle. Look at how complicated the parts are. Look at how dated the welding techniques are. And basically Tesla ramped the Model 3 before they got a hold of the Giga Press, and they've learned a lot with the Model Y, and obviously now the 4680s are being optimized for Model Y production. And I'm sure that if the engineering team had their time and were able to shut down the assembly lines for a while, they would probably be able to drastically re-engineer the internals of the Model 3 and design a single piece front casting and rear casting and structural battery pack. But the thing is, pretty much all the Model 3s that the United States sells are being built out of Fremont. Like Elon said to Sandy Munro, it's really hard to change the tires on a bus when it's moving at 70 miles an hour. That's essentially what the Model 3 assembly line is right now. Despite the Model Y growing in popularity, the Model 3 is still the king. It's still selling better than any other EV in the world. And yeah, Giga Shanghai is picking up a lot of that slack and providing Teslas to a lot of Europe, Australia, and of course most of Asia. So better quality control, better manufacturing methods there, but still no casting press, still no 4680s, and they are using lithium iron phosphate batteries in China, which is cool. But I'm just trying to envision what's going to be developing in the Model 3, because obviously there's all these developments happening with the Model S and X. They're getting their plaid powertrains and their drastic refreshes, and the Model Y is going to get its big next generation internal redesign with the structural pack, 4680 batteries, and the single piece casting presses, and the Tesla Semis coming soon. So all of Tesla's vehicles have kind of exciting developments going on with them, except the 3, which I have a feeling is gonna pretty much stay the way it is for a long time. I mean, there could be some energy density improvements with the 2170 cells that Panasonic provides for the Model 3, and I really do hope that when Giga Texas really starts ramping up 4680 production, they'd maybe be able to ramp up Model Ys enough there that they could stop producing Model Ys at Fremont entirely, and maybe that would allow them to diversify the Model 3 assembly line a little bit and provide some love and attention to the rear underbody and front castings, and maybe find a way for Kato Road to supply cells for the Model 3. And I'm not even talking about this year, I'm talking within the next couple years. So because Giga Shanghai is going to be ramping up Model 3s in their current state as quickly as possible, and they really cannot afford to shut that assembly line down anytime soon, and it's a very similar story with Fremont, I think that there's not going to be any major changes with the 3 for quite some time. There might be some some interior updates here and there. Hopefully Tesla can come up with some efficiencies with the powertrain or heat pump, and I would love to report in the future just that, hey, the Model 3 has got a huge range bump, and thanks to some efficiencies Tesla found, they were able to make it lighter or draw less power at high speeds or that type of thing. But frankly, the biggest thing I could imagine is if the NHTSA decides that side view mirrors are no longer a requirement, and maybe Tesla decides to take side view mirrors off all of their vehicles, in which case the Model 3 might get a 20 to 30 mile range jump just from that. But it would also be met by a bunch of controversy because obviously tons of people like side view mirrors and don't want to have to look at the display for the side view cameras. But I would love to be proven wrong here. If you guys have some hope or you have some theory about when the Model 3 assembly line may be temporarily shut down so that they can introduce some new manufacturing techniques, there's been so many lessons that Tesla has learned from the Model Y already. I would love for them to use some of that knowledge and experience and apply it to the cheaper vehicle, but I just feel like if there was another vehicle for Giga Texas to produce after the Y and the Cybertruck and the Semi, it's probably going to be the 25K Model 2, the Tesla Compact, and that's where Tesla's Model Y experience is probably going to directly tie into, because then it's going to be a battle of how do we get our vehicles down to $25,000, and once again, the Model 3 just kind of gets slid to the side and says, okay, you're there, you're not that important. But a lot of people still love this vehicle, so I want some updates for it, and I would love to see Tesla bring some new design updates to it or range improvements to it, but just trying to keep expectations in check. If any of you out there were thinking about getting a Model 3, I think I'm pretty confident in saying that if you buy one now, you know, it is kind of pricier than it's been for a while, but there's likely not to be any substantial major improvements to it in the near future. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Model 3 is going to switch to a steering yoke any minute now, but feel free to let me know what you guys think is going to happen. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.